Hey, welcome to Bollox Talks and Tangents. It's 6:34 on Thursday. You know what that means? That means we got to have some drinks in our hand. My man Lenny is back from Croatia.
Yeah.
And we got a great show. We got a lot of fun. Blake did an amazing job filling in.
He always does.
You know, he did his research. 1 week it was a little, he got a little nervous. He ran out of content.
All right, well, you know, I think
Blake came in strong last week, didn't you, Blake?
Yeah, I did.
He's like, that's not happening again. So
except for next week.
Yeah, we're not gonna run out of content. So, but Lenny, welcome back. How was the trip?
Fabulous. I can't encourage Croatia enough for anybody looking for a European vacation. The weather is fabulous. The food is fabulous. The coast, the national parks, the people are lovely. And you know what? They learn English in school there, so there's no language barrier whatsoever. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I can't recommend it enough. I really can't.
All right. So when you went in to order your drink, they knew what the heck you were talking about?
I did a Negroni every night.
Okay.
And they were fabulous.
All right, a Negroni.
Negroni. It's gin and Campari with a little bit of sweet vermouth, and it's a beautiful cocktail.
I can't do gin.
One is, well, you can get a vodka Negroni, but that's, it's a bastardization like the martini.
I can't do gin. I just can't.
But man, one of them is a nice buzz. Two of them is a really good buzz. Three of them, you're calling a cab.
Do they have bourbon over there?
They have a lot of bourbon over there.
Do they?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Bullet was very big.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Bullet was very big. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, because today we're going with a double rye.
Oh, good.
High West double rye. Mm-hmm. So cheers to that. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. I was drinking some Bullet Rye at the bar at the Esplanade Hotel. That was very fine.
Woo!
Yeah, good stuff.
A little smoke to that one.
It's a beauty. This is Utah's finest.
Got a little smoke to that one. All right, so we always start with word origins.
Okay.
Did you come up with some good ones, or what you got?
I got a couple.
And you don't have to say them in Croatian.
Which is good, because the only thing I can say in Croatian is Zeljelly, which is cheers.
Oh, okay. Perfect. That's all you need to say.
But in honor of, the double rye, I'll start with Zazzled. Zazzled. It's a term out of the 1930s, probably after 33. And basically, it means you are drunk. You are sloppy drunk. Zazzled.
Okay.
Comes from sozzled, with an S, which is from the 1880s, which is a word that means spill or splash or make messy. So if you take zazzled and bastardize it to zazzled, you are a sloppy drunk.
Zazzled.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be my middle name.
It could be. I prefer ossified, as my mother used to say. Are you ossified? Well, sorry, Mom. Only occasionally.
Ossified.
I like ossified too, but zazzled was it. Zozzled.
All right. Well, and sometimes if you're zazzled, you can rub people the wrong way.
True.
Okay. And I wasn't sure where this term came from. And it comes from 1700s. And the servants would be waxing the floors. And if they rubbed the wrong way, it created streaks. Okay. So, and it made the owners unhappy. So you purposely made sure you didn't rub the wrong way.
You can see that, like when you're buffing a floor. Yeah, it makes sense. Makes good sense.
It made streaks on it, and that's how, servants weren't treated that well.
No.
So it was very important not to rub the wrong way.
Right. We learned that a couple of weeks ago with Whistle While You Work, so that you're not eating the food on your way to the dining room.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
So don't rub people the wrong way.
No.
Okay.
Well, but it's always fun when you do rub them the right way, however.
Oh, yeah.
That could bode good tidings.
Oh, Give me a couple more bourbons. So, what else you got? Blake, do you have any? Did you bring any origins tonight?
This is my night off.
Okay.
All right.
He's just like,
you guys are the main stars of the show, so
he's like,
You got it.
He's
You're
like,
going to have to save it, right?
I'm all about being the producer tonight.
Keep it in your pocket.
But we'll say that you were panicking because we may have ran out of word origins.
Well, I said some like butter you up, and Blake said I already used that one, so I couldn't do that one again.
Well, that's my concern is doing things that would be fun and obvious, but you may have done them over the course of time. But my second one is, we all go to the movies, and, some of the best part in the movies nowadays is what happens before the show, which are the trailers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, think about it. Trailers, they're before the movies. Well, trailers started in 1913. A guy by the name of Nils Grandlund pieced together snippets from a Broadway show that was opening, and he showed it after the movie. And it was the trailer after the movie, and that was the first edition of something promoting something else in a movie theater. It stayed that way until about the 1930s, where they finally realized that the movie was over and people were leaving. So what good was producing all this stuff? Right, exactly. So they moved it to the front of the movies in the 1930s, and they kept the word trailers, but it's still before the movies, or what we call previews now.
So that's about the time talkies came into play. So I'm wondering if that had something to do with it too. If it's
could be. There's no reference to that in my research, but it doesn't mean that's not the case. It's very possible. But it's also people are just getting antsy. They're done. They're leaving.
Oh yeah, beating traffic.
Exactly right.
Beating traffic.
Right. Back to the horse and buggy outside. Yeah. Exactly. The cable car.
All right. When you fake crying. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if this term was used a whole lot up north, but it was used a lot here in the South. When you fake crying, you cried crocodile tears.
That is correct.
Was that used up north?
Yeah,
some of the terms I use, and they don't always.
Oh no, that's
translate.
That's well known. Yeah.
All right,
absolutely.
Blake, have you ever heard the term crocodile tears?
I believe you told me once before, maybe.
Yeah. So crocodile tears is basically when you're fake crying. And what they're saying is a crocodile has the ability to cry, but they don't have the emotional capacity to cry. So that's where the term came from, crying crocodile tears. Like, no, you're too mean to cry.
Right.
So if you see me crying, they're real. Yeah. I'm not a crocodile. I'm sensitive.
You're not cold-blooded.
I'm sensitive.
There you go. Yeah.
Right, what you got?
What?
Did you do your two?
Yeah, Zazzle and trailers.
See,
you're almost ossified.
I'm getting zazzled over here. Didn't mean to rub you the wrong way.
That's okay. Yeah, right. You could have buttered me up first.
Yeah, but you know what we didn't do, we failed to do, is talk about our sponsors.
There you go.
And our sponsors, we don't want to get upset with our sponsors because they're the ones that keep us on the air. And I got to start off with City Gates Distillery. They signed up again for another 3 months. Appreciate these guys being a part of the show. St. Augustine Distillery and City Gates Distillery, the best tours, tasting tours in town. Check these guys out. They do an amazing job over there. Also, continuing sponsorship with us, Meehan's Irish Pub. Talk to Reggie.
You know how I feel about them.
Excited to find out you were on the show with us.
Yep.
And just a wonderful place. They have great food, best view when you're sitting on the deck and having a meal right there. You're looking at the bayfront. Go check out Meehan's Irish Pub. Staying on sponsorship row, we have St. Augustine Pirate Museum. Over 800 artifacts. Cindy and the whole crew over there, they do an amazing job. They also are the ones that run the Colonial Oak. They put on great shows at the Colonial Oak, so go check these guys out. Just a wonderful place. You got family coming in town, take them to the Pirate Museum. And after you're done with the Pirate Museum, you can just slide right over to River and Fort.
Oof, nice.
All right, good meals, good bourbon selection.
Beautiful bars. Beautiful bars.
They did an amazing job with that. They put a $4 million renovation in. I'm super excited about the new restaurant they're building on Avenida Menendez.
Yep.
Right next to Harry's there.
I'm under the impression it's going to be an Italian restaurant, if I'm correct.
Restaurant in there. Just great guys and wonderful that they're our partners. Other people that are our sponsors that are our partners with us, Chesire Custom and Collision. looking at Blake to make sure I got it right. He gave me a thumbs up.
Okay.
He gave me a thumbs up. Chris and the crew over there, they have just an amazing facility off of Holmes Boulevard. If you're getting a little fender bender, if you just want to kind of refresh your car, or if you're doing a whole remodel, go see these guys and they'll do you right. All right, Abare, Kresge and Associates. Last but definitely not least, these are the guys that keep me out of trouble, save me a lot of money.
Yep.
I have a very complicated life, and I have a very complicated tax return, and they make it all simple for me. Abare, Kresge and Associates. If you're doing your own taxes, you're probably losing money. Go see a professional who knows what they're doing. I mean, I put this in perspective of, if you're doing your own taxes, that's like trying to heal yourself with WebMD. It just doesn't work.
Right, and you find out that you've got more diseases than you even started with.
It just doesn't work.
Right.
It just doesn't work. So, all right, our two topics are founding fathers and sitcoms.
Sitcoms.
All right, I want to start with sitcoms if you're good with that.
I'm fine either way.
If you're good with that. And Blake, you're going to have to participate a little bit. All right, we're going to have to, just to keep you conscious. We want you to participate a little bit. So when I did the sitcoms, I did my 5 favorite, and it was hard
to narrow them down,
to come up with five favorites, because you did.
Oh.
You came in singing some songs and some other stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, that's a great one too.
Yeah.
But I did my 5 favorite.
Okay, go ahead.
Right?
I'm in.
This is in no particular order. I would say probably Andy Griffith's my number 1.
Okay.
Andy Griffith's Show is probably my number 1. I Love Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Happy Days.
Okay.
All in the Family, and Cheers.
Okay. Classics.
MASH was close.
Yeah.
MASH was close. I mean, there were some other ones that squeaked in there. So what do you think your 5 favorite all time were? And you didn't have to do your 5 favorite, but I did.
No, but I was able to put together in no particular order, but I'm going to save what I think is one of the best shows ever for last. And again, I'm going way back. There was a show called My Mother the Car.
Okay.
Where the car was repossessed by his dead mother. So that was antics. And I Dream of Jeannie. I'm a big fan of The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just, Julie and I watch that almost every night, after dinner and before dishes, and we really enjoy that. I like the creativity of Hogan's Heroes, which I'll talk about later, and McHale's Navy.
Oh, yeah.
2 wacky shows in wartime.
Those two I felt like had almost the same premise.
Right. Hogan's Heroes was a little bit more creative than a little bit more creative and pointed. And there's some really interesting side stuff about that I'll talk about.
Bob Crane.
Well, yeah, we're not talking about but other things too. Yes, but absolutely poor dead Bob Crane.
Yeah.
And he went dark in a big way.
Yeah.
MASH, but then I don't know if you gentlemen are familiar with a show called Sports Night.
No.
Sports Night, you really need to look into it. Mm-hmm. It's an Aaron Sorkin show. The dialogue is as fast-paced as West Wing. Mm-hmm. It's about like Sports Night, like Sports Center.
Yeah.
It's got Josh Charles and who was the guy from 6 Feet Under who's now on Rescue.
Like, have you ever heard of it?
I think I've seen a couple episodes on YouTube. I haven't watched the full.
It is so. First of all, if you just watch the first episode, it's brilliant. It's got Joshua Molina.
So it's on right now.
No, it was 1 season, on and gone, and what a waste.
Okay.
The talent on the show.
Bosom buddies.
Yeah. Wait a second. Can we talk about drag? We are in Florida.
Yeah, we can.
Okay,
We
good.
can.
I'm happy to hear that.
Blake and I were going to go to a drag show in DeLand tonight, but we had to do the show.
Sorry, Davey.
Yeah. If we were off, we were all going down there.
Nice.
So.
I just recommend it so very much. It's poignant. It's intelligent. It involves sports.
Yeah.
It's fast-paced.
What's the sitcom that's on right now that's your favorite?
That's current.
Because I'm watching one right now that possibly, if it continues on its pace, that could bump one of these 5 off of my top 5.
There's a new one called Not Dead Yet. That's a lot of fun.
Okay,
about
a Netflix one.
No. It's about a woman who writes obituaries for a paper. She's
Yeah,
good.
but
Part
is
of
it on? What's it on?
Broadcast TV. There is such a thing still, believe it or not.
Not in my house.
ABC. All right.
Not in my house.
What do you got that you're watching that's
We
going to
watch
break
Hulu.
it?
We're on Hulu, and then we have Apple TV.
Yeah.
Netflix.
Paramount.
Amazon, Paramount. We have.
We
don't have.
we used to have them all except except Max.
Right.
We don't have Max.
Which is taking
Oh, we
over
have
which is
HBO.
taking over the world, by the way.
It used to be HBO Max. Now it's
Yeah.
Max, which
Right.
used to be HBO Go. Very confusing if you don't understand technology.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, like me.
I don't.
Right. Which is tough because they just dug up all the streets on the beach and they putting in a big fiber optic network to bring internet to people's homes. So I will be very happy to say goodbye to Comcast and Xfinity as soon as I can.
Wow.
And then I'm going to hire Blake to figure out everything for me.
Yeah, he'll have to come over and program everything. So have you watched Ted Lasso yet?
Finished the last one last night.
I haven't watched last.
Not a spoil. Not a word. Not a word. Absolutely.
Lasso is working its way into my top 5.
I think a lot of
Ted
people.
Lasso,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ted Lasso could be one of my favorite TV comedy characters of all time.
Are you up to date?
I'm I
Without,
have
except
not
for
seen
yesterday's.
I have not seen
Okay,
last
so you're up to
night's.
date.
Yeah.
That's it. And then it's done.
It's over?
This was the last show.
Yeah,
This
it's
series
over.
is over. Well, there may be an open door, but yes, it's over. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This show's over.
Ties up everything. We're done too?
Oh,
Damn you, Ted Lasso.
oh gosh, how am I going to...
Be a goldfish.
Oh, I gotta
Be a
get-
goldfish. It'll be fine in 30 seconds.
Messed up my notes.
For you Lasso fans out there.
It's been a rough
So
day,
this
man.
is the last one
Correct.
Yes.
of all time. I did
For
not
now.
know.
Well, I mean, there's always a crack in a door, but yes,
Ted
the
Lasso
series
makes-
is over.
There's so much more
Hold on.
that this
But
could
Ted
offer.
Lasso makes money, so it can always come back.
Right.
This, I mean,
And the writing in that show was fabulous.
No, it's
The writing was fabulous. Absolutely.
I'm crushed by this.
Yeah.
And if you guys have not seen Ted Lasso,
It's
only what,
so
4
worth
seasons?
it. Three.
Make it 4. Come on, guys. I'm asking.
Writing campaign. It was very good.
All right.
All right.
So on my list.
Wait, hold on. Have you already given your
Oh,
five yet?
yeah. I've
Yeah,
given
now it's your 5,
Blake.
please, Blake.
All right, so my 5 is a bit more modern,
Okay.
a
It
lot
makes sense.
more. So I'll probably say Family Guy,
Okay.
Okay.
Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Oh, good show.
Simpsons,
All right.
Friends, and Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Never seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Neither have I, but I just read something where it has the most words per minute of any show on TV.
Yeah.
Even more so than this?
Apparently, like 127 words a minute. I just read a blurb somewhere. I haven't watched the show yet.
Wow.
Does the morning show
So
have...
Friends almost made my list too. So
Yeah, but does the Storm have the least amount of words per minute? Per news broadcast?
I don't know. Sometimes all 3 of us are talking at one time, so it could happen.
Okay.
Those words could add up. All right. So Family Guy is a great one too. Those 2 cartoons that you mentioned are great.
And none of us put The Simpsons, believe it or not.
He put The Simpsons.
Oh, did you say Simpsons? I thought you said
Blake
Family
had The
Guy.
Simpsons.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Family Guy and Simpsons.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to start off with I Love Lucy.
Okay.
Great show.
Does Ricky know?
I don't think he's around anymore. And they divorced.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
the divorce was happening during the last episode.
Yep.
But they still were business partners.
And
'Cause they
smart
still
about
had-
it.
They
Yeah.
still had their own studios together and stuff like that. But I Love Lucy is the first show to do live in front of a studio audience. So they didn't use a laugh track. They actually had the people in the studio. And the 3-camera system we got right here,
Hi, Mom.
Desi's the one who came up with it.
Really?
So, and pretty much every sitcom after that was created by Desi. And I didn't realize that Lucy, Desi was traveling around and doing some stuff, and Lucy was doing her own thing. But they'd already been married 11 years before they started the show. And Lucy was a writer for another show as they started this show. And it only lasted 7 years, but it was 13 seasons. I guess they did double seasons at the time.
Yeah, a lot more episodes.
Yeah, and it was amazing that how much Lucy was also writing, and how involved she was in the creativity of it, and Desi was more about the editing and how to make the right shot work.
Really?
So
it's a good partnership.
Yeah, but it worked. I mean, it worked, and I think I Love Lucy kind of set the groundwork for a lot of situation comedies.
Well, it also was groundbreaking. Wasn't that the first show that showed somebody pregnant on TV? When she was pregnant?
Yeah, when she was pregnant with her son.
Right.
She had her daughter 4 months before they started filming the first episode. So.
But she was pregnant later on, right?
Junior,
Right.
Ricky Jr., who ended up.
Which was pretty interesting because they slept in separate beds.
Yeah. on the show.
Well, you can only stretch the boundaries of propriety so far back in the 50s. Yeah, exactly. And they created Desilu Productions.
Yeah.
Which produced one of these shows.
All right, which one do you got?
Well, I'm going to go with Hogan's Heroes because I just thought that was one of the most clever shows I watched growing up. And it's, you got to take a chance on something when you're pitching a show about a prisoner of war camp in World War II.
Yeah.
American and American, English, French flyers in a German Luftstalag, an Air Force prisoner of war camp in Germany.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. I mean, they made the Germans fairly buffoonic. Mm-hmm. We could use that as a word origin. Buffoonic. Yeah, we'll use that as a word origin next week. But also the premise was that they created, they were doing espionage. They were doing sabotage. They were helping downed pilots and flyers and other POWs escape and get out of Germany. But there was so much creativity. They had a series of tunnels under the prisoner of war camp. They rapped twice on the bunk bed, and the counterweights would bring it up, and they would have a ladder down into a tunnel. They would have a tree stump that came
up.
Yep.
And they knew the timing of the light.
Yep.
And LeBeau took care of all the dogs.
Yep, he did. And then he would lift, and one of the dog houses had a tunnel under it.
Yep.
Absolutely. The dogs loved the prisoners, hated the Germans. It was fabulous.
Yeah.
Now, interesting thing, you mentioned LeBeau. Robert Clary actually had been in a concentration camp during the war.
Oh, wow.
He was in a concentration. He had a tattoo. He was tattooed. Yeah, sadly. So it was that was happy for him to be doing this. And Werner Klempler, who played Commandant Klink, it was interesting because 4 of the people that played the German officers, Klink, General Burkhalter, the guy that played the Gestapo head, Major Hochstetter, right, and one other, they were all Jewish. All Jewish. John Banner, Sergeant Schultz, was Jewish. Served in the army during the war.
I know nothing.
Exactly. But it was interesting because Werner Klempler said that he would do the show only if the Americans beat the Germans at everything they did.
Yeah.
And that was his condition, and he did the show. So I found that very, very interesting because that was really a poignant tie-in. Yep. And
dark ending for Robert Crane.
Oh, literally. Well, he got into pornography and ended up getting bludgeoned to death in his trailer somewhere in Arizona, I believe.
Well, I think he actually, they still don't know exactly what happened, but he had to jump out of a second-story window at one point.
Yeah.
So he had a sketchy past.
Yes. So. But was interesting, just one more groundbreaking point about that. One of the Americans who handled all their technology, the guy who played Kinch, Ivan Dixon, in the mid-'60s, was a prominent role for an African-American and was a groundbreaking role for blacks in television at that point in time.
All the radio transitions and stuff like that.
So that was also. So there were things above being a clever show and a fun show, because everybody says, I know nothing. I see nothing.
I still use that meme all the time in group chats.
Yep.
So I do the Sergeant Schultz still in group chats.
Yeah. But some of the other stuff. All right, you're up, brother.
All right. I'm going to go to the one that I think is kind of shaped and progressed a lot of television, and that's All in the Family.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
And All in the Family was so well written. And they dealt with so many different controversial things. The way Archie and Meathead lived under the same house. But that happened. And then they had a black neighbor.
Yeah.
And that controversy, and then the Jeffersons took off and did their own show too. But for a show and what sprung out of All in the Family, I don't know if there's been a TV show that's brought more to the table than All in the Family. They handled abortion, they handled rape, they handled prejudice, like constantly.
Right.
They handled everything that was going on in the times. Vietnam.
Yeah.
So I can't think of a show in history and the timing of it and what they did. And it's one of the few shows that I Love Lucy's one of them too, that was number one when it went off the air.
Right.
And that's, Seinfeld, I think, is the other one. All the shows on my list did very well in the ratings, but they didn't always do very well in the ratings.
Well, it took a while for it to catch on, and it confused people for a little bit.
Yeah.
It really did.
So.
But, I can still hear Gene Stapleton screeching in the... well, that and, the way Glenn Miller played, in the opening song. Yeah. It's funny because... Every now and again, I keep flashing back. I'm putting my shoes and socks on, and I don't wear a whole lot of socks in all honesty, but I'm putting shoes and socks on, and there was one scene, I still remember it to this day, and Archie's going on against Meathead, Mike Stivic, and, Mike was putting his shoe on and his sock on, and then his other shoe and his other sock.
We do question of the day, and I did that question.
Okay.
I did that question because of All in the Family. On mine and Mike's show, we used to do 5 questions. We used to do 5 questions on Monday. How do you put on your shoes? Right. And Archie,
he wailed on him. He said, "You can't put on one shoe and one sock. What happens if there's a fire?"
Yeah.
And it went back and forth. And there are days where I'm putting my shoes and socks on, and I stop and I reflect on that.
Yeah. So what's the order you do it? Is it left, right, or do you...
I usually start with my left for some bizarre reason, probably because I'm right-handed and it may be easier. But I usually...
It's a left sock, right sock.
No, I usually...
Right shoe, or do you
I do
sock shoe?
Sock shoe.
You are a meathead.
Well, thank you. Well, I figure if the place is burning, I'll put the other sock on first. But if I got time, I'm going.
No, see, I'm right sock, right shoe, left shoe.
This could,
what are you?
Do you want to hear my answer?
Yeah, what are you?
Right sock, left shoe, right shoe.
Oh,
so
interesting.
You come back the other way.
Yeah, but it's mainly flip-flops.
Well, right.
Mostly wear flops.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. And this could explain why I don't wear a whole lot of socks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Case in point. Yeah.
But you put the left flop on first?
I just kind of slide into whichever one's closest.
Yeah, see, I'm always right foot.
Yeah. So.
I don't know why. I'm always right foot. And I had to think about it the first time I had
it. Right, okay.
But I'm always right foot. And now tomorrow you're going to think about it.
Absolutely. That
episode's how I came to that question. That's funny you brought that one back.
That's one of the things that stuck with me. That and Sammy Davis Jr. giving him a big fat kiss.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love that one so much.
That was beautiful. All right, what's your other one?
Well, I'll give you a choice. Mork and Mindy or Get Smart. I'm kind of partial to Get Smart.
See, and I'm more of a Mork and Mindy because I loved Robin Williams.
Oh, Robin Williams is absolutely
Mork
brilliant.
And Mindy spun off of one of my shows.
Happy Days.
Here. So let's do Mork and Mindy because that'll segue to Happy Days.
Fine. So, what turned out to be a dream for Richie, which wasn't until the end of the episode, Mork comes down and he's going to take Richie back to Ork with him. But Fonzie, of course, saves the day and it doesn't happen. And Richie wakes up and it becomes a dream. Well, apparently he was such a well-received character, Mork was, that in syndication, they recrafted the episode to have Mork wipe the memories so that nobody knew what was going on there. Because Mork said, I'm a visitor from the 1970s, believe it or not. Turns out the show Mork and Mindy, set in Boulder, Colorado in the 1970s, and Mork is sent from the planet Ork to come down and explain human behavior. And he reports back at the end of every show to Orson, his leader or whomever he needs to report to.
That was kind of a Dobie Gillis takeoff.
Yeah.
Because Dobie would sit on the thinker
Right.
at the end and kind of reflect back.
Right.
And I always looked at Mork talking to Orson as a Dobie Gillis type thing.
Well, it's Robin Williams, so of course you need some latitude there because the scripts were written with big voids in it for Robin Williams to go and riff. Absolutely. So it's pretty fabulous. And as it got to the end of the season, at the end of the series, because it was only on for 4 seasons, 91 episodes from 78 to 82.
Yeah, but it made it almost to number 1, didn't it?
That I don't know. I didn't delve into where they ranked, but I enjoyed it. First of all, it was very colorful.
Yeah,
it's very colorful. And 78 to 82, there stimulants that made it even a more colorful show.
You remember who Mindy and Mork's son was?
Yes, that's what I was coming to. Jonathan Winters.
Yes.
Jonathan Winters and Robin Williams became, Jonathan Winters was one of Robin Williams' absolute heroes.
Well, they're ad-lib geniuses.
Out of their minds.
Yeah.
You go look at any of the Jonathan Winters stuff now, and you can't help but pee your pants and roll on the floor. The man was insanely brilliant.
Yes.
You see him on the Johnny Carson show. You see Robin Williams on the Johnny Carson show, any of those talk shows. You really need to look at that sort of stuff because what they would riff, what they would do freeform was phenomenal.
But how would it fit into today with everyone being so sensitive? Would those guys have trouble with that?
I don't think they would. I think people might, and the answer would be, get over it, or, to quote, not Meatballs, but what'll come to me, but just get over it, Francis.
It just doesn't matter.
Get over it, Francis.
Stripes.
Yeah, thank you.
Stripes.
Yeah. Also one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But
lighten up, Francis, basically.
Yeah, Mirth.
Mirth
Was Jonathan Winters' character, and he started old and he aged
backwards. Yep.
So I was a big Mork and Mindy fan, and part of that's because it sprung out of Happy Days, which I was already so locked into Happy Days. But early on in Happy Days, I don't remember it struggling as much as it did. And what happened...
Happy Days.
Yeah, Happy Days, the first couple seasons, it was ranked out of like 79 primetime shows, it was ranked in the 70s. And the only character that was really crushing it was the Fonz. And do you remember what the Fonz wore the first season? He wore like a cotton blue jacket.
Like a Letterman jacket or something?
And they switched it. Well, he was a high school dropout.
Okay.
Remember, he went to night school and then he ended up teaching shop. But they switched it to a leather jacket and refocused it on him.
Hey.
Yeah. And you know what or what movie it sprung out of?
I'm thinking either The Wild Ones with Marlon Brando or something with James Dean.
American Graffiti.
Ooh, there you go with yep.
Well, and Richie was in American
Right,
Graffiti.
he was. Absolutely, yeah.
And the reason Howard took the job is he wasn't working at the time. Vietnam was going on. And if you were working, you could get your deferment if the job depended on 30 or more people's jobs.
Okay.
So if he didn't take the job, then 30 or more people may not have worked. So he took that because he really wanted to get into his directing career.
Right. How'd that work out for him?
He's
getting the hang of it. He's getting the hang of it, right.
But that's the reason Ron Howard took the job as Happy Days.
See, that I did not know. That's interesting. Yeah.
There's an older Cunningham.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, his brother. Yeah.
His brother Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chuck's the older Cunningham because people mostly remember Joni and Richie.
Mm-hmm.
So, you remember what Joni called Potsy when she had the crush on him?
I know it, but I can't conjure it. What was his name?
His name was Warren.
Right.
Okay. Mrs. Cunningham called Potsy Warren. All right. Joni called him Dren.
Right.
Because it's nerd.
Nerd spelled backwards. Right.
And that's actually from that show is where the term nerd became very popular. It was used, but it wasn't used a whole lot. But it put it into our everyday conversation of being a nerd.
Which, if I seem to remember, I got wrong in trivia that question about Dren, as a matter of
Dren.
fact. Yes,
Dren,
yes.
you probably did.
I did.
You probably did.
I definitely did.
All right, we got time for one more. You and me going back and forth.
Before we hit the Founding Fathers? Okay, I'll give you Get Smart.
Get Smart.
Get Smart, written by two of the most clever creative writers in television and history, Mel Brooks and Buck Henry. Geniuses. And it was a takeoff on James Bond and Inspector Clouseau. They morphed the two of them together.
Pink Panther.
Yep, and got which I believe they're remaking soon.
Yeah.
But they're it was
Are they doing that Pink Panther, or are they doing the cartoon Pink Panther?
no live action because
They're
they
doing-
casted somebody, I believe.
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy's going to
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
go.
but apparently they're going to have an animated Pink Panther in the live action.
There you go. Right. Which is going to be a little confusing because
It is.
in the original movies there was no Pink Panther. The Pink Panther was a diamond or jewel.
was a diamond,
Right.
yeah.
So
Yeah, but real quick though, what's your thoughts on the what was it again? Get Smart.
it was. What was the question? It was a cross between James Bond and Inspector Clouseau, and the two writers were the creators were Buck Henry and Mel Brooks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
two of the most brilliant comedy writers ever.
Yeah, but was there a movie adaptation about it with like Steve Carell and The Rock?
And
yeah.
Anne Hathaway. Yeah, there was a remake many years later. Yeah.
Not as good.
No, well, I mean, the stuff they got away with on this, it was really pretty funny. I mean, and catchphrases that maybe you don't hear as much anymore, but there were throwaway lines in that became classic lines, like, don't look now, but there's a giant man in back of you. No, there's not. How about a very tall basketball player? No, there's not. Would you believe a short person with a ladder? It was. Would you believe? It was. Sorry about that, Chief. All sorts of things like that.
Even like some of the stuff they use, like the shoe phone.
Absolutely.
Now we can't live without these.
Right. There were 50 different iterations of a phone crafted in that. He was Agent 86 because they goofed on the fact that 86 him, get him out of here.
Yeah.
Barbara Feldon played Agent 99.
86. You come from a kitchen background.
I do. That's right. We're out of it.
Okay. It means we're out of it.
Right.
It's common knowledge.
Yes.
It means we're out of it.
Right.
Do you know the origin of it?
Save it for later.
No, I've
Oh,
already-
next
I've already-
week. Right. There you go. You can use that. You can use that when I'm not here.
I actually used it the very first week.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I already used it the very first week, which means Lenny didn't watch. So
No, I remember, and I know it, again, in and out.
86 is when they had soup lines.
Oh, right.
That was the
Okay.
86 bowl.
Right. Oh, we talked about this. I remember. Yeah,
The
yeah,
86
absolutely right.
bowl that came out of the
Right,
soup line,
right.
and it was 86. When they yelled out 86, that means it was the last one.
Wow. All right. And yeah, and I've written that on boards for 35 years.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
So no, Get Smart was brilliant.
It really was.
But Brooks, everything I love everything Mel Brooks does.
And Buck Henry, who was, a lot of people don't know of Buck Henry. He was one of the writers on Saturday Night Live for about the first 10 years. Buck Henry was a twisted little man, but brilliant as far as that's going to. And Mel Brooks, still to this day,
But you didn't like History of the World Part 2 that was on Hulu though.
No, it still was good, but it was not as good as the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny, but the movies were more risky
Yeah.
because they did a lot of Blazing Saddles. To me, is one of the funniest movies of all time.
It's my
But
it's
you
my
can't-
wife's favorite.
You can't do it anymore.
Right.
No,
yeah.
you can't. You'll be crucified.
Yeah,
All right.
but what's your thoughts on real quick, Police Squad? The series that came before.
The Police Academy. Oh, Police Squad. Oh,
Was that with Leslie Nielsen?
Yep.
Leslie
Yeah.
Nielsen. Okay.
Again, a little slapsticky.
Airplane.
But Airplane. See, Airplane was groundbreaking.
Hospital. What is it? The big building with patients. But that's
Right,
not
exactly.
important.
Right.
All right. I want to get this one in because you mentioned it as one of your favorite shows, and it's not actually on my list, but it was in my top
Okay.
10, and because I associate with one of the characters very closely, The Big Bang Theory.
There you go.
All right.
Love that show.
All right. My son Sheldon. He's brilliant.
Yes, he is, and nowhere near like Sheldon. Worry not, Blake.
He's Sheldon.
Oh, come on.
He's brilliant.
It's like Sheldon to me is like Kramer. After a
I
certain
am not that socially awkward, by the way.
No, you are not. I mean, my take on Seinfeld, and this will probably bring uproars to all the Seinfeld fans in America. I would have locked the door. Kramer never would have gotten in the apartment.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, Sheldon, how they didn't Orient Express him and have 9 knives in his back at some point in time was mind-boggling that he survived through the show.
But the characters were so brilliant, they saw that's...
Right. They were accepting.
They knew his heart was good.
Right.
Even though he drove them absolutely crazy.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
And the funny part about that is the gentleman who played Leonard was offered the job as Sheldon.
Really? Wouldn't have worked.
And he said, no, I don't think that's for me.
Right.
And he's like, I think this one's mine.
Johnny Galecki, yeah.
Yeah. So he was the first one who was kind of hired.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is Amy Farrah Fowler and Bernadette came along a little bit later.
Yeah.
They weren't getting paid the same as all the others.
Right.
The others
I don't think Raj was either.
Yeah. No. Those guys were all getting paid the same. And the others got together and said, we're not doing the show unless these two get the same amount of money. So they had their back on that. So
I like one of my favorite parts of that show is the evolution in Penny and Sheldon's relationship. You know, how he basically, you know, big sister, you know, mother surrogate, you know, how they evolved. Their relationship was fabulous in that show. Really, really was.
So, well, I mean, they just had some great characters.
It was just brilliantly written. It was very well acted.
Sheldon's mom was an amazing character. Yeah. Leonard's mom was an amazing character. I mean, it was just Penny's dad.
Yep. So,
I mean, just some of the characters. I mean, the off characters of that show. I mean, that's why it was so successful.
It was really, really well done. A great, you know, these are shows when you talk about ensemble shows. You know, casts that have everybody is an integral part in it. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So, all right. So we got to talk about our sponsors because we are way beyond the halfway point. Blake didn't give me a sign, but I know it was coming.
Okay.
River and Fort, amazing food, great view. It's located next to the river, and what else, Blake? It's next to the river, and what else?
The Fort.
Okay, I saw Blake nodding off.
We got to keep that boy awake.
All right. The other ones we got to talk about: St. Augustine Pirate Museum. They do an amazing job. If you go there, ask for Captain Mayhem. He gives the best tours out there. He just is so entertaining. Been a performer all his life, and just does an amazing job. Meehan's Irish Pub. If you haven't tried their turkey meatloaf, have you had it yet?
No.
You gotta have it. Are you a vegetarian?
God, no.
Okay, you like animals, right? Okay.
Yes, nice doggy, right? Exactly.
The shepherd's pie is great. Yeah. They have a turkey daddle meatloaf that's amazing. Yeah. They just have wonderful food. Blake loves their mac and cheese. Second only to his.
And so does Julie. We have a go-to. We would go sit at the bar when Caleb's working. He says okay, and he puts the order in. Drunken clams, mac and cheese, and a small Caesar salad for Julie, and we're done. We don't even order. We sit down and it happens. But it's very funny because just to tie in Croatia for one quick second, took pictures for Reggie of Irish bars in Croatia.
Okay.
Yep, in Dubrovnik, there's a couple of different Irish bars. Guinness on tap in Dubrovnik.
Right. And I'm not a Guinness person, but Derek tells me it's the best Guinness in the United States.
At Meehan's.
At Meehan's.
They know how to pour it.
Yeah.
They know how to pour it.
So
can't rush that.
All right, Abare, Kresge and Associates, simply the best CPAs in town. You're starting a new business. You want them just to look at your numbers. They can do that. You need some help working on your finances. You're coming up on retirement, how to make some stuff work. Go see these guys. They'll take care of you. They'll give you the honest answers. Sometimes it's not the answers you want, but they'll give you the honest answers. Abare, Kresge and Associates. Chesire Custom and Collisions. They have state-of-the-art paint booth. They can take care of about all your needs. If you have a little boo-boo on your car, if you have a boo-boo on your car, they are the car doctors, and they'll put it back together for you. All right, City Gates Distillery and St. Augustine Distillery, award-winning tours.
Nationally recognized. The distillery tour is nationally recognized.
And their liquors are also nationally recognized. Go check these guys out. They do an amazing job. City Gates is right there across from the fort. and
By the city gates.
Yes, and St. Augustine Distillery, connected to the ice plant right there on Riberia. All right, founding fathers. All right,
I'm ready.
A lot of them.
I'm ready for you.
There's a lot.
I am ready for you because I know how you like your founding fathers.
All right, and I have 6 written down. All right, I'm going to let you pick from the 6.
Okay.
I have Patrick Henry, Benjamin Franklin,
Okay.
Thomas Paine, Robert Morris, Samuel Adams, and James Madison.
Let's see what you got on Robert Morris. He was from New York, was he not?
Robert Morris. Without Robert Morris, we could not have won the war. Okay, do you know what Robert Morris's role was?
I think he was the financier.
Very good. He was a financier. He put up. He signed.
And he was from New York, correct?
Yes, he was from New York. He signed over 600 notes to make sure George Washington's army was fed. They had enough. He basically was the comptroller. He made sure the army had everything they needed, and he came out of pocket. Him and John Hancock were the 2 wealthiest of the founding fathers. The dark side of Robert Morris. Our entire country won this war. The money that won this war, he was a slave trader.
Yeah.
He was a slave trader, and that's the reason we never hear Robert Morris's name as one of the founding fathers.
Right.
Like if you asked 200 people on the street, Robert Morris, and how is he famous? They wouldn't be able to tell you.
See,
But he was the guy. He was the Elon Musk
oh God,
of the time of the colonial. So Robert Morris was very important to us winning the war.
right.
But the money came from dark sources.
See, something you don't know about me is that one of my favorite Broadway shows and movies, coincidentally, and both are musicals, was 1776. I saw 1776 on Broadway when it opened, and I saw the movie years later, which had basically the same cast. Brilliant. So it gives you a very lyrical and musical background to the entire American Revolution, the Declaration of Independence, and everything that's going on there. It's so well done. The movie's done. The show was brilliant. It was just great.
All right. Robert Morris also had a bromance with George Washington. He just idolized George Washington. Whatever it took for George Washington to hang out with him, he wanted to hang out with him. Robert Morris, when George Washington became president, gave George Washington his house, and it became the president's house before in New York. In New York. And he moved into a smaller house, and that's where George Washington lived while he was president. He moved into Robert Morris's house in New York.
I'll have to check that out when we go back up north.
Yeah.
Interesting. That I did not know.
All right, so who you got?
Well, I can do a quick one on your friend Paul Revere because, and then I'll say, I don't have time. Maybe I'm going to go right into Button Gwinnett. Button Gwinnett,
Okay.
signer of the Declaration of Independence. I think there were 56 of them.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Button Gwinnett was the first to die of the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
Did he die before the last signature?
No. He died after it was signed.
Okay.
But Button Gwinnett, and I think I gave Blake a picture of his. Thank you very much. That's his grave site in the Colonial Park Cemetery in Savannah. Button Gwinnett was born in England, ended up coming over, was a signatory of the Declaration of Independence for the state of Georgia, or the colony of Georgia, and
And it's Gwinnett County is named after him.
absolutely, yeah, a lot in Georgia is, and he ended up being the governor of Georgia, among other things. And it was too bad because somebody compared him to Alexander Hamilton as just being very bad duelists. The reason he died earliest of all the signatories of the Declaration of Independence was the fact that he lost a duel to a guy by the name of Lockman. I got it. Where'd he go? A Scottish fellow. And it was...
What were they using guns?
They were using guns.
Okay,
and
pistols?
It was Lachlan McIntosh. And they had a feud going for a while. Button Gwinnett wanted to be the brigadier general, and Lachlan McIntosh got that, so that pissed off Button Gwinnett.
Okay.
Lachlan McIntosh wanted to be the governor of Georgia, and Button Gwinnett got that. So he was pissed off.
So the feud just kept happening.
Kept going back and forth. And they had a duel, and obviously Button lost. There's a couple of corollaries to the story. They're buried in the same cemetery in Savannah, Colonial Park Cemetery, right in the middle of downtown Savannah. Great little cemetery. You go visit American cities. You go places. You go to churches. You go to cemeteries. You go to a cemetery. They are buried a gunshot away from each other.
Oh, that's funny.
Now, I've been to that cemetery twice. And Blake put up a picture of his burial site. It's got a little Grecian canopy over, columns, pillars atop. And we came into it happenstance. And the reason I got interested in Button Gwinnett originally was at one point in time, and now apparently he's the third most valuable signature or autograph you can get.
Because he died so soon.
And he didn't sign a whole lot of things. And I thought I thought he had only signed the Declaration of Independence. Apparently, I saw a citation that it's Julius Caesar, who know he signed anything, Shakespeare, and then Button Gwinnett, because he's got so few things that he has actually signed. I think there was 51 copies of his signature in existence, and it's one of the most expensive and rarest signatures you can find.
Wow.
So I found that pretty fascinating as well.
All right.
So,
Do you want to guess how much?
Go ahead.
The most expensive thing signed by Button Gwinnett went up for auction for $722,000.
Wow. It's a nice piece of change.
Yeah. Good save on the microphone there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, we're in the second time we're walking through the cemetery because Julie and I had gone there by ourselves. We went back just this January with friends. Beautiful afternoon in Savannah. We're walking through the cemetery, and there's a woman walking her dog, and we start talking to her. And we're over at Button Gwinnett, and I'm saying, this guy, he intrigues me. She says, "You're never going to believe this." Said, "I was a child here." She grew up in Savannah, and she said, and they were doing some excavate, and they opened his grave, and I was able to look into it, and they showed me where the bullet hole in his skeleton was that killed him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. So that was fascinating. This woman just, it was a pretty interesting conversation. And the woman said, "Yeah, I saw it as a kid." They showed, "Oh yeah, see that hole?
Right.
That's."
We've talked about a Georgia boy long enough.
Go ahead.
Come on, Lenny. Come on. We can only talk about Georgia people.
Works for me, man. All right.
I mean, you're from New York. That's the longest any New Yorkers ever talked about a Georgia.
That's true. Yeah, but realize that they did attack Florida, and they were both pissed off because when they attacked Florida, they lost.
Yes, this is true.
All right.
This is true. Okay, you see my list. Which one you want to go next?
Not Ben Franklin. Let's make the beer maker.
The beer maker, Samuel.
There you go.
Strong name. Isn't that right? Samuel's a strong name.
Yeah.
All right. He was the second cousin of John Adams. All right. I didn't have John Adams on the list, but he also was a very interesting guy and a great watch if you ever watched the HBO series Adams.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great watch.
Paul Giamatti, excellent.
So Adams is known as the father of the American Revolution. All right. What I found the most interesting about him is prior to all of this, you know what his occupation was?
Sam Adams.
Yes, Samuel Adams. He sold malt, but
there you go. So
his other job, he was a tax collector.
Ooh, not popular.
Yeah. Well, he was. Because he gave a lot of breaks because he didn't believe in the taxation.
Without representation.
And the irony is he was the leader of the Boston Tea Party about the tax on tea. Right. And just 2 years earlier, he was a tax collector.
He was a prominent in the Sons of Liberty, I believe.
Yes, he was. And they said as a tax collector, he would often fail to collect the taxes from his fellow citizens, which increased his popularity.
Okay.
So, but he was held liable for the shortages and got sued so that made him hate Britain or England even more.
All right, I want to sneak this one in because I think you're really going to like this one a whole lot. Paul Revere.
Yes.
Okay. Paul Revere, silversmith. Did you know he was a dentist?
I didn't know he was a dentist.
Paul Revere was also a dentist. Paul Revere would fashion artificial teeth or replacement teeth for people, and he would wire them in. Yeah, he made them out of ivory, made them out of bone, things like that, and he would wire them in. Now, we're going to take that one step further. Paul Revere was the first person to use forensic dentistry to identify a body.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
James Warren, General Warren, was the guy that had.
But didn't Paul Revere, didn't he struggle financially? Because he wasn't really famous until the poem came out.
He had these sidelines going. I mean, he put an ad in 1768 in the Massachusetts Gazette offering his dentistry work and his fake teeth. But James Warren, the general that had got he and Dawes to ride when the British were coming, one go left, one go right.
Yeah.
Was the guy. So he was a friend of Paul Revere's. Paul Revere had done dental work on him and replaced 2 of his teeth and wired them in there.
Okay.
He gets killed at the Battle of Bunker Hill, which most of us know was actually on Breed's Hill.
Yeah, it was one hill over.
Right, exactly.
Would have made as good a poem.
No, true. Gets killed at that battle. Falls into a trench. Eventually gets absolutely massacred with his own bayonet by the British troops. They savaged the poor man.
Yeah.
Buried in a shallow mass grave. 9 months later, Paul Revere gets an opportunity to go in at the behest of somebody to try to identify the bodies. And he goes in, and you're talking 9 months later, buried in the ground, yet he still was able to, separate some of the bodies, and he found his dental work. He found the dental work and was the first identification by dental forensics known to man to identify a body, and that's where dental forensics came from because of Paul Revere.
Paul Revere.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I found that to be really, very interesting. I thought you'd get a kick out of that one.
All right. I'm gonna actually do Ben Franklin.
You like him so much.
I have. I have a history crush on Ben Franklin.
Okay, understandably.
Right. And one of the things that is so amazing for me about Ben Franklin is a lot of his peers called him doctor. He was never a doctor, but they called him doctor because he was always so brilliant.
Right. Learned man.
All right. No, he had a 2nd grade education.
Really?
That's all the formal education he ever had was to 2nd grade. Never went to college, never went to any training or anything. That he was always self-taught, and everything he created, he was a very good documentation guy. So he was credited with a lot of things that other people were doing, but he wrote it down.
Smart man.
He was brilliant, and he was very charismatic. And he actually trained Thomas Jefferson on how to deal with the French.
Right.
We were talking about without Morris's money,
right,
we wouldn't have won the war. Without Benjamin Franklin bringing the French to us, we wouldn't have won the war. And Ben Franklin was the oldest man who signed the Declaration of Independence.
70 years old.
He was 70 years old, and if he wasn't, he was considered too old to be thought of as being president.
Interesting.
At the time. So his name really never came into the conversation. Right. But many say if he was a younger man, he had the attributes that would have been a good leader.
Well, none of them liked Adams, so the fact that he ever became president was pretty surprising anyway.
Well, Adams...
He was obnoxious and disliked, but they knew that.
Adams was probably the most educated of the founding fathers. Like, he had a formal education.
Jefferson as well, I would think.
Adams' conflict came because he was a Puritan. And because he was a Puritan, they were trying to get away from one religion.
Right.
And they were nervous about Adams' religion getting in the way of the country. But in Adams' writings to Abigail and everything else,
right.
he was about country first.
Right.
And I think Adams is more appreciated now than he was at that time. And him and Thomas Jefferson were best friends, and then they became political enemies. And they became best friends again at the end of their lives.
And you know the quirk about that.
They died on the exact
same day,
on the 4th
July 4th, right?
The 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
And one of the last things that John Adams said was, "At least Jefferson is still alive," and he had predeceased him.
He died earlier.
Right.
And the other thing the two of them did is there was a when they went on a trip to London together. They traveled together. They were this close of friends. When they went on a trip to London together, there was like a famous rocking chair or something in London, and they chipped off a piece of it and stole it together.
Reprobates.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just.
Have you seen 1776, the movie?
I have not. I definitely need to watch it.
You of all people will enjoy it so very much.
Definitely need to watch it. But you know what? We're out of time.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Too good. It goes too
We might have
fast.
to come back to some of the.
Oh, I
am with Founding Pop. There's 56. We might have to get through all.
I know your position on it.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you to you guys for tuning in, and we appreciate it. Please hit that share button. Tell people about the show, Bollox Talks and Tangents. We have such a good time.
Yes, we do. We really
just
do.
want to get out there. We do. We still have YouTube. There's a lot of different ways to watch us. But this is Bollox Talks and Tangents. Blake, you got anything you want to add in?
Have a great day. Have a great night, guys. Hold on. Nuggets minus the points.
Nuggets minus the points. There you go.
Nuggets giving up the points. All right. It's a lock.
There you go.
All right. This is Bollox Talks and Tangents. We'll see you next week.